In the meantime, Governor Bay is in the house, Johnson Sakaja. We have a soundbite for you from yesterday, a very emotional event that you attended. Let's take a listen to that.
Have done bad to the children of Nairobi. We must do something. Your Excellency, sorry. Your Excellency, ni uchungu ya watoto. Thank you. Your Excellency. Your Excellency, this thing must work. There's no other way.
That was obviously a very touching moment for you, huh?
And very rare.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. I mean, I've seen all manner of comments around it, and this is the first time I'm watching that. Jeff, I was explaining that successive, administrations, what they've done is dealt children of Nairobi just a bad set of cards. We have only 210 schools. We have a population of 5 million. Most of our kids, because the definition in the Basic Education Act is a public school or a private school. Many of those who don't make it to our public primary schools, the ones the Kanjo schools that we used to have, don't get to Braeburn and all these fancy schools. They go to a school in the slum that is a church on Sunday. On Monday, and there are just 50 of them or 100 of them. On Monday, it's a school. In the evening, there's a youth meeting. And then a funeral harambe the next day. They deserve better. And I remember, Jeff, when I was a senator and during COVID, many schools had been vandalized. Yeah. So I got some friends who donated desks. So I was going to just give desks. I did one school in Kibra, Raila Educational Center, and then I went to Dagoretti North, getting a primary. And then when I'm interacting with these kids, normally you ask them, they're like, super senator, they're happy at that time. So I ask them, okay, what would you like me to do for you? And they'll say, give us footballs to play, some balls. Those who are very ambitious would say a school bus. This kid said, just food. Kinyanjui Road Primary School in Dagoretti South as well. They said food. And I realized we have a problem. First, as a parent, I was really sad. Because when a child asks you for food, they really want food. And they need it. And so I studied this thing. 1 out of 4 children in Nairobi don't go to school because of hunger. Many interventions to sort out, relief don't think of Nairobi. They think of the ASAL areas, arid and semi-arid counties. In fact, the entity charged with school feeding is called nomadic something. It has nothing to do with Nairobi. Nairobi ni shamba ya mawe. If you have no money in this city, you'll have no food, you'll have no place to stay. In the rural areas, there's community, there's your grandma or your cousin, there's something growing somewhere and you can eat. And so I studied Harry Truman's interventions in the US, 1945 or 46, National School Lunch Act. In the Senate, I tried to pass it as a bill. It didn't go through.
As senator?
As senator. I listed it. It didn't go through. And I said, if I become governor, the first thing I'll do is give these kids a chance, just a fair shot at life. That's all they ask for. And everybody wants that for their children. Everybody out here wants the same thing, to go about their lives peacefully, make something out of yourself, but guarantee your children a future. And so when kids are told to go for lunch at midday, they don't come back to school. And so the next day they missed the afternoon. If there's nothing in their stomach, they'll have nothing in their minds. And that's why we've committed money. We did a groundbreaking of 10 kitchens by yesterday. And, you know, I think what made me react like that was just remembering the struggle, the resistance to this program. Over the last week, I've gone to many primary schools, you know, just checking out the sites for the kitchens. And the kids would just run to me, and when you talk to them, you say, hey, mnataka chapo, yeah, nyama, mchele. You're seeing how they're reacting to food. It's embarrassing as a parent, you know?
Yeah.
And they can't wait. You tell them, I asked kids in BD Primary School in Buruburu and also in Mudangari here, where we're building kitchens. How many of you have carried lunch today? Only half of the school put up their hands. Then I asked, how many don't have? The rest put up their hands. I asked them, so what do you do? So sometimes we share. Teachers were telling me, when I called all the head teachers personally of all the sites, I told them, oh, we're doing this program, we've agreed with the Ministry of Education on how to do this. And they'd give me stories of how they have to share their own food, of how some kids faint in class. And so, when you hear some people saying, no, this is not a county function, it's a national function, I said, no. Feeding kids in school is not a county function. It's not a national function. It's a leadership imperative that we have to do. And the Constitution gives us avenues to partner with the national government. And so I put aside 1.2 billion. Already those 500 million that we're using now to build the kitchens. We're doing a hub and spoke model where in a constituency, one kitchen serves schools around it. And so they cook there. It's the parents who are involved in cooking. They pack the food. I'm getting trucks, and the trucks deliver. So we piloted this with Food for Education, who are our partners, Wawiranjiru and a team, and now Child Investment Foundation, in Dagoretti South, at Mukarara Primary, where during the election, I even took the president-elect then, or rather our candidate, who's now the president. Enrollment has gone up 150%.
Because of food?
Because of food, 150%. Performance has gone up 23%. Discipline. Those kids at lunchtime, no one tells them to line up or stop pushing. They know there's enough for them. And the saddest part, Jeff, they get 650 grams of food and a fruit every day. They don't finish their food. They take it back home.
For the rest of the family?
For a sibling or for the parent. Whoa. And so just think of it, in these harsh times, this guy who's going to hustle in Mjengo, which he might get or might not get. Yeah. Imagine the burden you've lifted. Him knowing back in, at the back of his mind, knowing whether I get this thing or not, my kids have eaten. All initiatives that have been done, parents will be charged 70 shillings, 60 shillings. Do you know how much you're charging? 5 bob.
5 bob.
Kobole. Shilingi tano. And we have a technology now that we're using called Tap to Eat, where as a parent you can load for 2 days. You can put 10 bob, you can put 30 bob, you can put 100 shillings, but your child has an account. You just send the M-Pesa. And Kenyans are asking, so how do we partner? How do we come in? So we're setting a governance structure and a proper, a more refined legal framework where we will involve the corporates, private sector. You can M-Pesa 200 bob, Jeff. You'll have fed the child for how many days? You can M-Pesa 1,000 shillings. You can M-Pesa, and that will come. But for this first year, we put in all the resources. Now, the best thing is this. The president yesterday committed to match shilling for shilling. So now I can feed more kids because this program, I'm feeding 250,000. 250,000 children every day. I told them from the 28th of August, when schools open, until the world ends, children will eat in Nairobi. And that's why because you've seen a problem, then now you can sort it out. Yeah. It was joy and pain. And, Leo Tolstoy says, if you feel pain, it's because you're alive. But if you feel somebody else's pain, it's because you're a human being. And I guess that's what But of course, now it's all the jokes around.
Yeah, you saw, it's Kenyans for you, huh?
I love it.
Huh?
I love it.
My favorite one was the governor from Minnesota.
And that's what I've explained to you, what
Yes.
I did when I was an MP,
Yeah.
what I tried to do as a senator. You're limited. A senator legislates. And once you legislate, you'll wait for the executive, whether it's the president or the governor, to implement. If they don't feel your vision, you'll get... That's why I left the Senate, so that I can actually put action towards and what I believe in.
And you said you put 1.2 billion aside?
For this year, yeah.
President is matching that with another
He's
one.
going to match it. And so what we're going to do is this. Because initially, this would only serve my 250,000 kids in my schools, in public primary schools. These kids I'm talking about, the ones in the informal settlements, in these academies, which are not academies. And, last Saturday, I was inspecting some projects. I went to LCVR. You know LCVR, of
Yes.
course. Your school started there.
Correct.
They were doing their 80th anniversary.
Aha.
So after that, I went to Bagathi to see some works we're doing. And then I was going to Dagoretti North. There's a road called Salim Road, which has been a problem for decades. So we were carpeting it and we're fixing it. So I went to look at it. So when I called the MCA, he's called Kennedy Swaka, he starts laughing. He says, now, Governor, ni mzuri umekuja. There's a meeting here of what we call UPBET schools. UPBET is Alternative Provision of Basic Education and Training. These schools that are not recognized by government, they don't have capitation, they're not supported. And I found 600 directors of these schools. They're in Kibera, they're in Mathare, they're in Kiambiu, they're in Kahawa, Soweto. One old man stood up and said he's been teaching for 42 years. He has a former student who's a doctor. He has an engineer who, just because they were dealt with the wrong cards, despite that, made it. And immediately I told them, you know what? I'll work with Honorable Loch of Mathare, because he was there, to support him to amend the Basic Education Act. So because those kids don't deserve less than yours or mine, or those in public primary schools. They deserve the same. We just need to give them that fair chance. So to recognize those schools, to put some standards. Also, you can't have a school of 20 kids. To put some standards, let them get registered. So they told me that county government is always harassing them for the license of 10,000 shillings. And this is a school where the parents can't even pay. And immediately I told them, and I spoke to my team, that we are reducing it to 3,000 bob, 1,000 a term. Because I also told them it can't be free. We need to regulate. So it's going to be 3,000 shillings, and that is in my finance bill. This other one is being done, but I have mine also for the county, because we charge levies and taxes. And now we should be able to feed them. And when I told the president that, and I really thank the president, he's really supported me. He confirmed Nairobi as a shortage of classrooms and schools. And so we agreed to partner, that I put 500 million shillings a year. He puts 1.5 billion. We're going to build 5,000 classrooms. Classrooms. So that is new schools, extending, because many of our schools have space. And I'm very happy I've been able to unearth many of the title deeds, because many are being grabbed. Tomorrow morning, I'm issuing many of our schools title deeds, the ones I found, their copy, so they know this is our perimeter and protected. But imagine 5,000, our classrooms unfortunately have 1,000 kids, 100 kids. Yeah, so that's 500,000 kids, more kids, getting into schools and getting fed and learning. Why would anyone oppose that, Jeff? Honestly.
The only problem here is, and this is a little unfair, but the only problem is during school holidays, these kids will be coming to school thinking that there's food.
We can still keep it running.
During holidays.
Kenyans are good people. People, look at what Mombasa Cement is doing in Mombasa. They run soup kitchens. They're feeding people. After yesterday, the number of calls I got, this milk company wants to give us milk. This other company wants to add, in fact, a friend of mine even wants to add salmon. I told him, Sam, okay.
What?
It's nice, yeah, it's nutritionally.
Yes.
Because it's doing heavy trawling. I met Victory Farms guys when I went for lunch with the CS Machogo. And I said, you know what, we bring 40 metric tons of fish to Nairobi every day.
What?
We can give you a portion of that. Kenyans are good people inherently, but they've lacked the leadership that gives them a structure through which they can support and which they trust. So it's not a scheme to make money. Yeah. But that every day, there was maziwa ya Nyayo. And I explained,
Did you grow up on maziwa nyayo?
Yes,
You
we
did,
used to get maziwa in the brown small packets.
Yeah, Tetra Pak.
Tetra Pak.
Yes.
I remember maziwa nyayo. We used to, in fact, it was so funny. We used to fight for, so there was the one with the girls drawn,
Yes.
and the ones with the guy boxing.
Correct.
And so if you're a guy and you get the one with the girl, you
Yeah.
can't even drink it. You had the guy boxing.
Yeah.
But we remember that. But remember, from 1964 when we got independence, President Kenyatta then promised that kids will get 7 years of an education. President Moi came and did his part and did maziwa nyayo. President Kibaki came and gave free primary education. Today, Nairobi is writing its part of history with the largest school feeding program on the continent. Hii lazima iwaka.
And start date will be?
28th of August, 28/08/2023.
Kabisa.
The first day of third term. And so what we launched yesterday was 10 kitchens in 10 weeks. The logistics are being worked on because we've piloted it. Our partners have, some of the colleagues who do it in India, they do 2 million plates. This is just 250,000.
Wow.
2 million plates.
A day.
And what you're giving that child is dignity. That child won't be embarrassed of what he has brought from home or nothing. You saw a story of a mother boiling stones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the kids just have some hope. And she's hoping maybe in an hour the husband will come with something. Because the kids are hungry. Jeff, I know what it means. I know what it means.
Have you ever been hungry?
I have. There's once or twice I've slept hungry in the city.
Because there's no food in the
In
house?
Nairobi, Jeff, you can sleep hungry and your neighbor has a party.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've lacked community. We've stopped caring for each other. People don't know who lives next to you. You don't know who's next door. We're competitive to a fault. We think about ourselves. We need to be kind, Jeff. We need to start being kind. If you have something extra to spare, just help somebody.
Yeah.
It takes nothing away from you.
We need that Utu back, don't we?
Utu, Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Yeah? And I mean, even with this entire discussion of what's going on, I see it from a different perspective. Like, many people have so much to spare. If you go across here in Kilimani and go to the restaurants and whatnot, what people spend in a day?
Yeah.
And a child is 5 bob. To have 650 grams of a nutritious meal. That is why we have said on this one, it must work. I've gotten very good feedback. Even testimonials from where it is happening, because there they pay 15 shillings. We'll subsidize it. And the 5 shillings is not, because we can budget for the entire amount, but also the parent must feel they've contributed something. But if there's a child who doesn't have that 5 shillings, we'll pay it for them.
You'll still eat.
Yeah, I'll call you, Jeff, give me 200,
Yeah.
give me 1,000, give me 100K.
I'll send it.
I know you'll send it. Just like, we've done many things together.
Correct.
But let's just return, what does it mean to be a Kenyan?
Yeah.
If leadership focuses just on things that, for me, that is even better than a road. I'll do the road, yes. I'm doing many things. But for me, that is impactful. That child will remember for the rest of their lives what happened to them.
Yeah. Governor, sorry to cut you off, but just in an era where every single day there's a scam a day,
Yeah.
billions are being stolen.
Yeah.
People are getting away literally with murder. Nobody's getting arrested. And you come up with this plan. I mean, what is it? I mean, what does it take?
Jeff, the many negative stories, you can always and I always tell my colleagues and friends, remember why you went for that position. The Bible says, I know this is not a religious station, but in James, it says that true religion is taking care of widows and orphans in their time of need. Yeah? That what you do for somebody, someone one day might have to do it for your child. So if you just focus on being good people, not even just Christians, some are Christian, but whether you're a Hindu, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're in whatever, just being a good person, there's a blessing that accompanies it, Yeah. And I'm happy, even though scandals are happening all over, and I'm doing my best to make sure there's none in Nairobi. And I told my team, in fact, I saw somebody putting in the group after that happened yesterday. My chief officer, Priscilla, wrote to other chief officers that if anyone was not sure of how seriously the governor takes this program, now you know. Don't try to mess with it. No one will mess with it.
Yeah.
And so we're navigating, and I'm grateful to all first for the president. Yesterday's function was about not to happen.
Why?
Many reasons, tough, whatnot. And when I explained it again and I reminded him, he said, let's go to those people. Children right now in Nairobi are counting the timeline to the 28th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so as we do these other things, Jeff, I'll tell you what we've done in health, what we've done in infrastructure, how we've raised our revenue. I'm collecting more than the last administration collected. I've already surpassed what NMS did.
Come on.
And they had everything.
And NMS was collecting quite a bit.
Plaza bomb, they had everything. They had police, they had the Jeshi, the Serikali.
And the general.
And a bomb. I've surpassed. They didn't hit, there were 8 billion. I'm already above 9 billion.
Come on.
But despite all of that, this for me is what melts my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that health because there's a lot of complaints, a lot of critics talking about, for instance, Mama Lucy.
Yes.
It's a mess.
I found it as a mess.
Okay. We'll talk about that. And also, there's some pending bills that you paid the other day. Was it 2B?
There's a lot of
lawyers,
pending bills we pay.
law firms. To 15 law firms.
That's not been paid yet, but it'll be paid. It's part of the budget. It's part of, you pass a budget. In fact, some of those making noise are the ones who pass the budget. So did you pass a budget for me not to pay? You can chew gum and walk.
Chew gum and walk. That's Governor Sakaja Johnson there. Talk about his passion for this city. County number 047. He wants to get it back on its feet. It's going to be a tough call. It's going to be an uphill task.
Yes.
He says he's up to the task. What do you think? Keep tweeting at Quinangu Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. We'll be back, and your feedback, we'll read it a little later on. Back in a moment.